Well, that was fun and a little nerve-wracking.
Nerve-wracking?
No, I just finished writing that tune this morning, kind of.
That's right.
But it's a new tune, been working on it. But it fits really good in with today's lesson topic, which is...
Using arpeggios.
Using arpeggios. And there are, I guess, not really misconceptions, but kind of generalizations that people make about arpeggios that we're going to kind of break apart and make a little bit more practical for you. Because, like, really up until fairly recently in my overall guitar career, I thought of arpeggios as... like sweeping,
oh, yeah.
right? And I use them like that for, you know, a tool for the end of a solo for a really fast line or something. But that is not what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about arpeggios as being a very simple little unit of just the root, third, and fifth of a chord that you can use to play over guitar changes to, you know, start choosing your notes a little bit better. And that's all the definition of an arpeggio is. It's a chord that you play one note at a time instead of strumming. So instead of like playing this D, like all at once, just play it one at a time. And a lot of people think of like the sweep thing, or they think of arpeggiating finger style as an arpeggio, which it is. But we're gonna be talking about today, like I said, is the more little subunit. And I have one little nugget that I want you to take away from this if you've never played with arpeggios before. But we're gonna start really complicated and pare it down to something really simple so you can kind of see this. I learned it backwards. I learned it like this, and I don't want you to do it like that. So at the beginning of this, you're gonna think, that's really complicated, I can't do it. And then at the end, you're gonna be like, oh, I can do it.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew and I were talking earlier today about just some concepts, and it's really valuable stuff. So let me pull up a resource. You want to let them know about the resources?
Yeah, so obviously, as always, there's a resource for you guys to download. Today, no jam track, but we do have the PDF, which basically follows along. And it does look a little bit scary. When I saw it, it scared me a little bit because I don't really think about the fretboard this way. So it's even kind of, I'm even learning this system. But by the time you get to the end, it makes total sense. Very easy to understand. So make sure you grab that. Those of you guys who are members, it's right under the video. If you're watching on YouTube and you do want it, there's a link in the description for the live stream. And you can jump over to guitarlessons.com and you'll find that there's downloads there. So make sure you do that. And I will just mention, during this lesson, if you have any questions, make sure to send those in. Those are for those of you guys that are members. So send those in and we'll answer those a little bit later. They can be about arpeggios, they can be about anything else, doesn't matter.
Cool.
That's it, go for it.
So when I first learned arpeggios, I learned the full form shapes, like an E major shape, playing a G major arpeggio, just roots, thirds, fifths, G's, B's, and D's, right? All the G's, B's, and D's in this location. Sounds very classical.
It does.
Or metal, right? But if you look at the first graphic, you see that shape. And all you're doing is playing this chord and sticking thirds on the top, right? And I have them labeled 1, 3, or 5 for root, third, fifth. But also on that first graphic shape, you have this too. It's just kind of a continuation of all the roots, thirds, and fifths up the fretboard until you get here. So from here to here, we have all the roots, thirds, and fifths for any, well, in this case, a G major chord. And I know that sounds complicated. I'm doing that on purpose to show you how easy this can be later on. So, but that's how I learned arpeggios. Because I'm in a rock context, right? So.
Right. Similar to kind of like that 3-note per string style shape.
So, yeah, exactly. Like I can see.
Right.
But I mean, that you can only go so far with that. That sounds really metal. Sounds really kind of neoclassical. But the kind of the key or the idea here is to go from that first graphic that has what it is. It's an E shape. That's a G major, and it's a D shape if you look at it really closely.
Right.
Right? And that's all of those notes. And I kind of isolated it from there, and I took just the notes in the E shape. So root, third, fifth, root, third, fifth, root, third. And I took the rest of these upper notes, the kind of that D shape, out. So you can see how we went from having that really complicated extended shape to having just the E shape to work with. And then the next one after that kind of does the opposite. It takes the E shape away of this arpeggio and leaves it with just the D shape.
Right.
And I hope this is, if you're following along with that, that's great. If not, good, because it's going to drive my point home really well. So what do I do with that, though? I mean, it sounds like I'm practicing the guitar. right?
Yeah.
So I also have the next graphic, and this is going to be a fast lesson actually, because the next graphic has the next shape up. So if you're looking at E, you have a D, and then you have a C.
Yeah.
The next shape up is a C. Looks just like a C major chord, open C major, you're just moving it up to where the root notes are on a G.
And I should just interject, you're just using the cage system to,
Yeah,
to do
100%.
this. So if you know the cage system, then this is actually a little bit easier to conceptualize and understand.
Yeah, 100%. But you could still see this D shape right here, right?
No doubt, yeah.
So it doesn't matter which one you use. Those first 4 diagrams in there are like how I learned arpeggios. It's like, well, this is, like, again, it's great for metal and other things like that, but how do I use this? So the crux of this thing is the D shape. Forget all the previous 4 diagrams that we have there. Just think about a D major chord, and then move it up. Here's your root note right here on your 3rd finger. My pinky's pointing at it.
And it's important to note when you're moving it, you're going to actually get rid of that open string, right?
Right. I can, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like my point of reference for the low D, like open D, is the D string, right?
Yeah.
But you have to kind of shift your mind to think about this note right there as your point of reference. That's your root note, that's your D.
Yeah.
So just shift this up to where you're going to be on a G. So D, there's an E, there's an F, there's a G. They're on the 8th fret. So that is technically, if I arpeggiate that or play the notes all at once.
Right.
And a lot of times people get caught up in like, okay, I learned a G major scale. But how do I, if somebody's playing a G major, that's fine, but how do I sound like I'm playing over the changes? What if they go to a D chord?
Totally.
What are you going to do then? You're just going to kind of noodle around on the G major scale still?
And that's just finding those chord tones within the shape, right?
Yeah, it's just finding those chord tones in the shape. So if you're playing over some basic changes, and this is what I'm getting at, Andrew and I are going to do this. He's going to call out like some random major chords, and I'm just going to move this arpeggio to fit around whatever major chord he's playing. In other words, like if he plays an A major, I'm going to move this shape to where my root note's on an A.
Yes.
But the cool thing about this is when I do this, I automatically know that I have 3 notes that will sound awesome over an A.
Absolutely.
I have the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. And I can pick whichever one I want. And you can make up solos just based on that, like say if you have a really slow 1-4-5 progression, and you have time to think about, okay, what's a G chord is first, right? So I know there's a G here.
Yeah.
Say I want to hear the 3rd over it.
Because you know exactly where that is because of that shape.
Yep, exactly. Now let's say it moves to a C. I'm not even thinking about what note that is. I'm thinking like this arpeggio shape.
Right.
And I hit the 3rd right there because I know that that is a 3rd because I've studied the diagram, right? So 3rd, root, 5th. Let's say it moves to a D chord. If I want to hit the 3rd of that, here's a D, 1 octave higher, open.
Yeah.
D, go back to a C maybe. And then to the G. Right?
And what I find cool about that is it doesn't sound anything like playing through kind of the equivalent scale. And like when I see that, the way that my mind works, it's like, oh, I think about like how I can relate that back to, if I'm just playing a minor pentatonic, well, if you just maybe throw a couple of those shapes in there, also do your minor pentatonic, it's gonna open up a whole new world. It's like a great step into something that's gonna sound totally different. So if you feel like you're just playing the same licks over and over, it's a great way to start introducing some more like chord tone based stuff.
John Finn has a course out, and it's called, I think it's called Target Tones or something like that. And the first time I saw him do this, I was like, there's no way I can ever do this. I can't think about notes that fast.
Right.
But when you memorize arpeggio shapes like this, I automatically know that the 3rd is here. There's one there. Right? It's a little bit easier to grasp playing over some fast changes.
Yeah.
And I want to, this isn't in the PDF, but as soon as we go through a little demo of this, I want to give you a couple of other little arpeggio shapes that you can use. Really all they are is like triad shapes. You're just arpeggiating them, right? So
And a cool thing I'll just mention, especially about this shape specifically, is the only kind of barrier to entry is you just have to know the note names on the B string.
Yeah,
because you're just using and you're making sure obviously that it's a major chord because that's important because you can do the equivalent minor, but we're not worrying about that right now.
Right.
But as long as it's a major chord and I know the note names on my B string, I can just what's the name of the chord? Okay, it's an E flat major. I know where I'm going.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. See, that's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to understand.
I was gonna dissect that little lick I did. I did something like I think it was just on a G. I think it was like all I did was I had this arpeggio shape in my head, right?
Yep.
And ended with a major pentatonic lick, right?
Yeah.
So you can kind of disperse major pentatonics in with this kind of stuff if you want to convey that type of sound.
And if I'm correct, when what I saw, you're almost just turning this into a little A minor shape, right?
It could be A minor 7.
Okay.
Or in this case, it'd be E minor 7.
Sorry, using an A minor 7 shape to play an E minor 7.
I thought about that as a C shape for for the G chord, like going from a D and then.
See, which is crazy because you just went from playing a G major to an E minor to another G major again, right?
Yep.
And they're all in the same spot and they're all using kind of the same shape, but you're using 3 separate shapes.
Yeah, and like this is one thing I'm working on a lot. I'm working on being able to see the entire scale.
Yeah.
As I'm doing.
Right.
Because if it goes to the 2 chord, what do? You just find a minor arpeggio in that area and start using kind of that as your foundational or like safe notes that you know are going to sound good over whatever chord is coming up, right? So.
I definitely would say if you start working through a little bit of this stuff at a time, you're just going to have like aha moment after aha moment.
I know, I've been, like ever since David Becker came out,
yeah.
I've been really hitting this stuff up hard in my practice time. And actually that song that I wrote was a direct result of the stuff he recorded when he was out. It's not out yet on the members area, but it's working on the edit right now. So
we're working on it, yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. We're going to call some random chords out.
I was just going to say, okay, so...
This is a really good exercise, too, if you have a friend, by the way.
Just to make sure, I'm just going to play a major chord. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and then you're going to play it. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to, like, make things extra hard for you. Okay. Let's go...
Oh, I'll screw it up. It's fine.
This is the best part. This impromptu stuff is the best part about these lessons. Okay. G major. That one's an easy one. C major. D major.
Okay, now.
Okay, so you went down. You could have gone up.
Could have gone up. I could have gone on the 3rd of D right there.
Okay. G major.
G.
Okay, that's easy. Now we'll do B flat major. Nice. F major. Now we'll go back to C major. And back to B flat major.
See, normally, like if I saw like a progression like that, especially with that B flat major, and I was thinking G, I'd be like, oh dear God, what did I play?
Right.
But simplifying this can get you through a lot of tight spots, and it's gonna really open up your knowledge of the fretboard.
Because when I played that B flat major, because I would agree, like that to me, like the F and the C, not too hard to find, but that B flat major, all you're really doing is going, oh, where's the B flat on this B string? And then I know,
there's a 5th.
It's so handy.
Yeah.
And you're safe there.
Yeah. And if you know, if you know the 1 of what you're playing is right there, like that's a non-diatonic chord. So, you know, like I've just thought about it as like momentary modulation to B flat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it depends on the context of the tune and like the melody and what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a big thing too. A lot of these, I found for the way that my mind works, a lot of times when I'm using those chord shapes instead, it's very easy for my ear to catch it.
Yeah.
And then my fingers and my ears communicate, and I could actually just find my way and not hit any wrong notes just by having that little home base area first.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well, now I'm safe, kind of thing.
Cool. The last thing that I want to show you, if you're already really comfortable with the D shape, I would encourage you to learn the A shape too. So think about that as an arpeggio. So it's an A.
Yeah.
A's in the middle, root's in the middle, third's here, fifth is here. Exact same formula as the D. Root, third, fifth.
And it's technically
root,
just the same
third,
shape,
fifth.
but not
it
compensating.
It's the exact same
right?
shape. You just have to compensate for the tuning when you go.
Okay. Yeah,
So all you have to do is know the notes on your G string. So that's a G, F sharp, right? And just move it around to where you're comfortable. So there's an E. So if I want the third of an E chord.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that helps a lot in the blues too. Like that little thing I did, if you have your triad right here, your arpeggio. Now, I know just because I've experienced that sliding up to the third from below sounds really good for blues.
Nice.
As a blues solo, they have way too much delay on this to be
For the
doing
blues,
that.
yeah.
But that is like step number 2. There's lots of arpeggio shapes, but these are the tiny ones that are really practical and usable. You could play.
But how are you going to use that in the blues for a guy who's
Exactly,
a blues
you're
guy,
not
right?
going to use that in the blues. You're going to use that in fusion and metal and stuff.
Yeah, and that I think that's probably like one of the things that always intimidated me about arpeggios too. Is I always thought, like you said, it's like they're a sweep picking thing, they're a metal thing, a neoclassical thing. Thinking of Yngwie Malmsteen and guys like that. And it's like, but really, you can kind of find an application no matter what your style is.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure. These are just everybody. Well, most people out there know their open D and their open A major chords. So these are shapes that you already know. You just have to think about them in a different context.
Yeah.
And use them as single note things.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is you can use that and you can then start to combine it with some of the other things you know too, right?
Like fast. Well, okay, I don't even know what key I was in, but.
And it totally changes kind of the vibe of what you were playing too, which is it's pretty cool. Can we do the same exercise where you use the A shape now instead?
Yes, but I won't do as good as that.
We'll go nice and
That's
slow.
fine.
Let's do it more like bluesy. So I'll do it with.
Sure.
I'll still do it with like regular major chords though. So let's go A major.
Okay.
Stay on it. And we'll go to D major. Back to A major. And then E major. And you know where it's going. Back to the E.
Like I threw some other arpeggios in there for that, but literally they're just basic open chord shapes, and you just line them up to match whatever chord is coming at you.
And you could combine that with
oh yeah, if you're big, fat, nasty.
Right? And then combine that
end.
with your little, and all of a sudden you're kind of creating almost like your own little blues style. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. If you get one thing from this lesson, realize that you can move the D shape all the way up and down the fretboard, with the middle note being your home bass.
Yeah.
Work on memorizing the notes on the B string, and then maybe just put a solid jam track on, maybe over one chord.
Yeah.
Just the only thing I put in there was a 7, like below the root.
Yeah.
That's it. And just work on getting creative with your rhythm, and then knowing exactly root, third, fifth.
Yeah. I would encourage you guys to maybe find a jam track that's like a 1 to a 4, and then back to a 1,
That's
and
a
nice
really good
slow
progression.
movement,
Yeah.
and to go back and forth, and then work on going back and forth.
I'm pretty sure I have one in the members area for that. If not, I'll post it in the forum.
Yeah, that would be good. I'm sure that would be handy for some people. Okay, cool. It looks like we just have the one question in there right now.
Cool.
Or these are kind of some older questions, but that's okay. Oh no, this one's recent. There we go. This is less of a question and more of a thanks so much for the lesson on modes. I've been practicing them for a few months now, and the jam track will definitely help with my phrasing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I use that droney jam track all the time. I got that idea from Joe Satriani. He had this big drone thing, and he's like, if you want to get good at modes, just put the drone on and then use that root note as the root of every mode, and you'll hear the difference between them. So
Yeah.
it's really effective.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a good place to kind of do. Yeah, and you can even relate this stuff back to modes too, right?
Yeah, because I mean every mode the chord you're playing over is either going to have major or minor quality or diminished quality. So just learn your major triads or minor triads.
Right. Okay, we have another question in here from Piajutsu, which sounds like a martial arts. Every time I say it, it sounds like some sort
Reminds
of
me
martial
of Naruto. I don't know why.
Ah, interesting. This is actually a good question. How often are arpeggios used in country music?
A crap ton.
I would even say more than scales with a lot of the big guns.
Yeah, I would say that most of what you hear in country music is based on arpeggios and triads, and then there's a lot of pentatonic stuff.
Of course,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Brad Paisley, obviously not everybody's cup of tea, but definitely one of the best popular guitar players in the world right now, especially in the realm of country. Almost everything he plays is just based on the chord that he's playing over, and he just arpeggiates it. That's a lot of the stuff.
The opening tune that Andrew and I were playing over, a lot of some of that was inspired by Guthrie Trapp. He's a big country session guy. If you haven't checked out his album, almost everything he does is based off of arpeggios and triad shapes and things like that.
He's a good example of somebody that we saw him live a couple years ago.
Yeah.
You remember that? And he's somebody who definitely thinks. He uses arpeggios a lot, but he has very good melody. Like his note choices are always so spot on. Even though he's playing like some complicated stuff sometimes, when if you strip it down, it's like, oh man, that's so musical. So it's worth listening to.
I want to listen to that album now. Not gonna lie.
It's making me want to
Really
listen to
good.
country now that I'm kind of talking about it.
Cool. Oh, some more questions coming in.
Another question here.
Great.
Okay, this is a question from DF Para. Any idea when the new Christmas tunes will be on the site?
You would have a better idea than that. Than I know one of them is edited.
Yes.
One of the videos is edited.
They should be out real quick.
The 6th is the first one?
The first one that's coming out is coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
We're gonna throw that one on YouTube as well, I think, because it's a very like broad kind of something that I think it's a little bit of a simple lesson, and I think some of you guys might get through it a little too quickly.
Yeah, it'll be really easy to get into. Just get your hands on it and play some Christmas tunes very fast.
But it's 3 Christmas songs with 3 chords.
Right.
So we're gonna do. We might as well tell them which which 3 Christmas songs. So
Silent Night, Joy
Silent-
of the World,
Yep.
Away in a Manger.
Away in a Manger. And all you're doing for all 3 of those is just G, C, and D.
Yeah, G, C, and D, that's it.
3 chords.
That sounds good. And I have backing tracks for you too.
Yeah, and the sheet music you included as well. So that'll be good. So that'll be coming out tomorrow. Like I said, I think it's going on YouTube, so we'll make sure, for those of you guys who are members, we'll post a link in the forums.
Cool.
And then I think we might be doing some more in-depth stuff later, right?
And that'll be, well, in the next week and a half or so.
Yeah, we don't exactly have a lot of time. It's almost Christmas. All right. I think that is going to be it for questions. Is there anything else arpeggio related that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. One thing. This is a bonus for any advanced player. Well, intermediate players. My favorite arpeggios are 7th arpeggios. So like a major 7. Because they aren't used as commonly. They're very common, like for more intermediate advanced players, but you don't hear it. And it's just a color. It almost sounds like a pentatonic scale, but it has the 7, major 7.
Nice.
So I just like the way they sound.
It adds like a bit of tension almost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then like dominant arpeggios are really good for fast little flurry of color and solos and things like that, or blues.
So that'd be a cool kind of next step for some of those people wanting to get more into arpeggios, would be 7th arpeggios.
Yeah, learn major, minor, dominant, minor 7, flat 5 arpeggios.
There you go. It's even stuff I don't know. Another question here. This is unrelated, but another good question from Bean Jammin'.
Oh, hey.
Will there be a community collaboration on one of the songs like there have been in the Drumeo community?
I don't see why not. I think that's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
We should probably make it a simple one just so everybody can participate, but like we could even, I don't see why not. We should start a forum thread for that. Yeah.
I think that's good. Do it to one of the Christmas tunes, and we'll make it maybe even one of the more simple ones, and then people can add their embellishments.
Yeah, because all the jam tracks for the simple ones are like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 minutes long. So
could work pretty easy. Yeah. If you guys, we'll make a forum post, and if you guys are into it, that would be awesome.
That'd be fun.
Maybe even Nate and I will play along. Be cool. All right, very nice. Okay, I think that's gonna do it. Now, should we play out on something?
Yeah.
That do you always have some idea?
No, not today. I'm just stuck in E minor.
Ooh.
Let's see. Let's do that.
Okay.